And so finally, last but by no means least, the Canada Gairdner Wightman Award. And as a Canadian institution, the Gairdner Foundation dedicates one of its annual awards, the Wightman Award, to a scientist who's demonstrated exceptional leadership in Canadian medical science. And I'm proud to announce that this year's awardee is Dr. Tony Hakim, Emeritus Professor of Neurology at the University of Ottawa. Dr. Hakim is one of Canada's most distinguished scientists with a world-renowned reputation for his leadership in neuroscience with an emphasis on stroke. His career has demonstrated both research and leadership prowess, from his characterization of the penumbral region around a stroke's ischemic core, to leading the charge to set up the Canadian Stroke Network and helping to develop a nationwide Canadian stroke strategy. Dr. Hakim has really been critical in changing attitudes towards stroke from being a devastating condition to one that is preventable, treatable, and repairable. And in 2006, Dr. Hakim and his colleagues published the first Canadian best practices recommendation for stroke care. They developed performance indicators, toolkits for healthcare providers to set up stroke units and improve emergency medical services for stroke victims. They also instituted a multi-layered national education program to enhance stroke prevention and the delivery of acute stroke care. And within 5 years of the strategy's implementation, Ontario alone saw referrals to stroke prevention clinics increase by 34%, and stroke admissions decrease by 11%. And Dr. Hakim doesn't give up. He continues to look at some of the major health problems in our aging society, and he's now taken on issues of dementia with a particular emphasis again on trying to develop strategies to help us all work towards prevention of dementia. And so we're very excited and delighted to congratulate Dr. Hakim, who's joined us here from Ottawa today, and welcome him to the platform.
Wow, I'm not a video. I'm incredibly honored to be named the 2017 Gairdner Wightman Laureate. When I got the call from Dr. Rossand telling me about this award, my overwhelming feeling was one of incredible pride to belong to the Gairdner family. My immediate next thought was to share this honor with all the individuals within the management team of the Canadian Stroke Network and its board, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, and with the hundreds of clinicians and scientists who contributed to the amazing success of the Canadian Stroke Network in taming stroke. I often got just out of the way and let the members of the team lead the charge against stroke, and it worked beautifully. The challenge we faced became clear when research showed that when a stroke occurred, usually due to a blood clot interrupting flow to a brain region, the affected area did not die immediately. A portion, resulting in deficits, maintained viability for a short few hours. It held its breath for a while before it died. So when a drug that busted the clot became available, it became possible, provided everyone was ready with a coordinated response, to save brain, and the Canadian Stroke Network had its work cut out for itself. The year we came into existence in 2000, only 2% of stroke patients in Canada received this drug in the appropriate interval of time after stroke, and that was 5 years after the drug was approved. The recognition I'm honored to receive today acknowledges the success of the Canadian Stroke Network in developing a national strategy to reduce the impact of stroke on citizens and society. Many individuals in the Canadian Stroke Network and the Heart and Stroke Foundation committed themselves to the development of this strategy to get patients to recognize the symptoms. If I had $1 for every patient who said, after getting a stroke, I'm going to go to bed and sleep this one off, I would have been a very rich person. Call 911, paramedics to take the patient quickly to pre-identified emergency rooms where they are attended to by trained personnel. The best practice guidelines we developed in Canada held everyone along the care pathway to a very high standard. It took a combination of resolve, steely resolve, and diplomacy on all our parts, but as a result, at the end of the Canadian Stroke Network's first 7-year cycle, 42% of stroke patients who came to Ontario hospitals received the drug, likely the maximum treatment rate possible since not everybody gets the drug. And so, as Dr. Rossant mentioned, the work of the Canadian Stroke Network and the Heart and Stroke Foundation did in Canada convert a stroke from an awful condition into a much kinder one. In the process, the competitiveness of Canadian stroke research has increased, with drug trials going on now even as we speak, and the next generation of stroke specialists was educated and became ready to pick up the mantle. A number of other benefits arose from the work of the Stroke Network. The treatment of hypertension, a major risk factor for stroke, increased to 73% of individuals, and awareness of this risk factor in the population reached 82% in 2011. Also, since stroke and vascular disease are major drivers of dementia, we believe our work will continue to pay dividends by reducing the incidence of dementia in our society and beyond. But already, as our economic analysis revealed and as mentioned by Dr. Rossant, the work of the CSN saved our healthcare budget billions of dollars. As a result, our work became a model for the international community, proving that Canada is small enough to be organizable and yet big enough to have global impact. As I stand here before you receiving this great honor, I want to recognize a few individuals who provided me with personal examples to follow and gave me support. The previous generation in my family, because they were Armenians, lived in refugee camps and faced enormous poverty. But they were incredibly resilient, and they never allowed their pain to impact the love they offered my generation. There were among them many sources of inspiration for me. I also want to pay tribute to my lovely wife, who, as a physician and a researcher in her own right, generously accepted to allow me to forge ahead professionally, and our children, who in turn accepted lovingly to do without my presence on many important occasions. Come to think of it, maybe that's why they turned out so good. I am very grateful to the Gairdner Foundation for this recognition. Thank you very much.